Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody is enjoying what I think is the beginning of spring. For those that are on the East Coast, you're seeing glimmers, I think, of what I hope to be a little bit of warmer weather. For those tuning in from different parts of the world, I hope your weather is as good as it can be. I got a call from a good friend of mine telling me that in LA it's absolutely gorgeous. Shocker. And for those that are coming for the first time, welcome. I hope that you stick with us. For those that are coming back, thank you so much. We've been talking a lot about this concept of not knowing who we are. And the reason why we keep on going to it is because unless we nail it, we're going to move past it. I was talking to someone yesterday, a good friend of mine. He was explaining to me this incredible concept of understanding information and living with information. Knowing it and feeling it. And they're very different. Lots and lots of people know stuff. But to live with the information that you have is a totally different game. And though there are a few people, and we know them, and we want to be like them, that have worked on themselves so much in their lives, that do this, that spend time every day thinking, asking themselves. Like, there are people that are so focused on their own growth that when they hear new information, it is a short trip down to the feeling. They sort of get that there's something new out there that I didn't think of before. And as opposed to others, myself to some extent included, we're all like this. We all have a part of ourselves that we can hear something 100 times and we never actually get it done. We have a piece of ourselves where we hear something that we want to grow with, and as opposed to doing it, it stays in our minds. You come out of that class, that marriage class, that growth class, that class on spirituality, and you're like, no, that makes total sense. I'm in. And as soon as you feel that way, you're like, great. And it stays sort of in the world of your mind. And it never really somehow finds the path, the highway, to go from an idea that stays here that is intellectually makes sense to something that actually can go into your heart and change. And there are those few people that work on themselves. And this is what they're working on. I heard a quote once from a great rabbi who said that the longest distance in the world is the distance between his head and his heart. That's the farthest distance in the world, between your head and your heart. And part of what we need to do every day, part of what it means to get your head right, part of what it means to be a grower, to be able to change, is to shorten the distance between something that makes sense and something that you actually live with. You put it into your life. You live with that awareness. And if we ever needed an example of this, we're living in it. How many of us would have ever in our lives washed our hands this much, not touched there's a box in front of my door that I haven't touched yet because I'm like convinced that like if a guy touches it and then he puts it on my doorstep, now there's a germ on. I remember being on airplanes and seeing like one person, usually like one lady in first class sitting down, because when you get on the plane, she's already there with like disinfected wipes. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you're insane. Like I remember not like 17 years ago, like 5 months ago, going on an airplane, walking through, seeing a lady scrubbing down her like her screen and her tray and being like, are you out of your mind? Like, relax, lady. Like you'll be fine. And like now, like I can't even imagine walking onto a plane without gloves it's amazing how the information so quickly went from our heads to our awareness. Now, that happens when you get scared of things. That happens when you hear stories. That happens when we spend a little bit of time locked down and you see what happens in the world. Well, why can't it happen for good? Why can't it happen for us so that we grow, so that we become better? And it doesn't take us a year to be better. It doesn't take us like 20 Yom Kippurs till we finally like, oh, I get it. Be a good this. I get it. Listen to my wife. Oh, I get it. Why does it take us, God forbid, a story of somebody who passes before we're like, what? The work that we have to do every day is when we hear something. That's the work. When you hear something that makes sense, you got to put it into practice. If for no other reason, to just break down the barrier from your head to your heart. It doesn't mean you have to be that person right away, but just activating a thought creates a connection between your mind and your body and your feelings, which then allows you to create a little bit of a closer relationship between I hear something, I can implement something. It's new, I can implement it. And one of the things we're working on now is that transition. If you're with us for the first time, you can go back to the earlier talks. They're on my YouTube page, they're on my Instagram page, they're on Momentum's Facebook, they're on my Facebook, they're in places, because we're building together every day a little bit. And what we've been talking about until now, and yesterday we just began this process of this shift. We began last week, early this week, talking about this idea of not knowing who we are, of being coachable. What it means to be coachable in life, what it means to be coachable on a football field, is to walk in and go, I have something, I don't know the extent of how to use it. I don't know who I am. And when you walk into a facility, an NFL, if you walk into like the 49ers facility with their coach and their whole deal, and you're at a college, and you could have been the superstar in college, and you walk in and go, I know how to do this. They're like, really? We shouldn't have drafted you. If you walk in and go, I don't know who I am. Like, I know who I am. Like, I don't know from a football perspective. I don't know. I don't know what kind of receiver I can be. I don't know what kind of blocker I can be. Coach me. The world is open to that player. The whole world is open because he doesn't know who he is. He's an 18-year-old kid out of college. These are professional coaches. We don't know who we are. We think we know because we're doing the same thing for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years. But remember, there's a coach called God who's a little bit older than us, who knows a little bit more than we do. And when you allow yourself to be coached through the circumstances of your life, that's how God communicates to us. Until prophecy returns, he doesn't speak into our ears. Maybe there's a few people in the world that have worked on themselves so much. Well, not maybe, there are, that have been able to see things that regular people can't. But for the most of us, we're being coached through life circumstances, which is, by the way, the core of faith. And when you allow yourself to stop fighting it all the time, stop fighting the world, to swim with the current, you allow yourself to be coached. You allow the world to coach you. You stop saying, I know who I am, because we have no idea who we are. We're an intangible energy source from the creator of the world. Me and you, if our eyes are open, what's generating us is a piece of the creator. In Hebrew, this is called Chelek Elokah Mima, a piece of God from above. That's who we are. And we don't even know what that is because we've never really experienced spirituality at the level that we need. So let's, for practical purposes, we don't know who we are. And the excitement from our day is the ability to shift our mindset from, I know who I am, and oh my God, this is not conforming with my beliefs. What am I going to do? I have this with some of my children. God bless them. Sometimes we'll go somewhere. We'll go on vacation, let's say, as a family. We'll go away to something. We'll have an experience on a holiday. Something will happen to us. And thank God it will go, with God's help, okay. And the kids will like it. And invariably the next year, as we go back to that place, or as we go back to that experience, I'm looking around and I'm seeing frustrated kids. And I'm like, what's going on? Well, last year when we went here for dinner first. And last year when we did this on Tuesday, we went swimming. And last year, and I'm like, what? What does it do with anything? I'm like, no, because we did this last year. And And I'm realizing what's happening is that they had a good time, or at least the brain had them remember they had a good time, which they did, and it only got better because our brain sometimes remembers better than it was. And when they go back into the circumstance, what they're doing is they're taking the history and they're looking at their circumstance going, this has to conform. It's got to match up. I know what I want. It's got to match up. And when it doesn't, there's a breakdown. And they're not open to what this year is bringing. And it's amazing. Every year, another one of my children I'm having this conversation with. Be open. It's going to be different. Who knows? Don't judge it yet. I'm a big talker, but I do the same thing. And so we all do it. We look out in the world, and what we're really looking for is the world to conform to what's in my head already. And when it does, I'm happy. And when it doesn't, I'm upset. Let's take out the extremes. Let's just take, because we get lost in extremes. Forget birth, forget death, forget extremes. Regular life. The middle. Every day. If I get what I expect, I'm happy. So I keep on trying to jostle the getting piece. Like if you think of the equation, my expectations plus my fulfillment of those expectations equals the level of my happiness. So we're like, okay, I want to be happy. Let me play with this circumstance. Let me play with my circumstances. Well, maybe we're playing with the wrong piece. Maybe we should be playing with the expectations. And when we realize that we don't know who we are, and the real goal of life is to bring out the depth of our strength, then the circumstances in front of us become the pathway for us to begin to become the people that we're meant to be. We stop trying to control the world, and we spend more time trying to control our expectations. And we're open to what's in front of us. We're open to what God throws our way that day. And when we deal with the challenge, it's the challenge that brings out us. And that was the beginning of what we're trying to hit. And we're going to hit it again and again and again and again until it goes from our heads to our hearts. And you'll know this matters to you. You'll know this is having an impact. Not if you're like, oh, I got it. That makes sense. Wonderful. You'll know that when you're in a circumstance, if you look at that circumstance and go, wait, stop judging it. I'm going through it. It's gonna change me. I'm nervous, but I'm excited to try something new, to do something hard. I'm trying to find me, and I don't know who I am, and I don't want to be a small fraction of who I am. I remember reading this book from a woman named Bonnie Ware. She was an end-of-life nurse. She worked in some part of the hospital where I guess people had, maybe there were, I don't know. There's a part of the hospital where maybe they were much older, whatever it was. She was a nurse that was basically part of the ward where people were at the end of their lives. I wrote a book about it. It's incredible. And if I remember correctly, one of the things she said that one of the greatest regrets people have in their lives is not failure. It's recognizing at the end of their lives just how much more they could have become. Sitting back and watching how much more they could have been had they just. If I can find the quote, I'll find it. Maybe I'll put it up on the screen here or something. Or if you want to email me, Charlie at Charlie Harari, or Andy Boltex, who's on the chat. Well, I'll post it somewhere. I'll try to find that quote because it blew me away. It was in the book. I put it in the book. And what's interesting to me is that you see this all the time with people. There is a certain pride in the willingness to fail. There's a certain pride in the knowledge that I went all in on my day. I went all in on the situation. I went all in on this. And I didn't shirk when the world sent me a different message. And it comes from that place. It comes from the place of the intangible. There's more inside me that I'm trying to bring out. Today's a big day for the modern Jewish world. Today is a day called Yom HaZikaron. It's the day where you remember all of the fallen soldiers in the state of Israel. Now, growing up, I went to a school that had this day. I remember it growing up. We used to have an assembly and people would give a speech. But you know, what is a 16-year-old, 15-year-old kid now? And I remember like it was yesterday, the being in Israel for this day. I was 18, 19. I was in Israel for the year. And we all went to, the cemetery for a program on Yom HaZikaron. And I'll never forget like being there and seeing, you know, young women and little kids just hovering over graves, broken down, young parents standing by the graves of their children. A middle-aged woman going to the grave of her husband who passed away decades earlier. And I remember thinking to myself, this is why this country is so incredible. This is why this country came back from the ashes and built one of the greatest modern societies that fuses spirituality and technology, and it's one of the most resilient places in the world. Israel is one of the most resilient places in the universe because they understand sacrifice. They don't shirk from it. They don't shirk from remembering it. What's amazing is the transition that's going to take place tonight as they transition out of Yom HaZikaron into Yom HaAtzmaut, which is their Independence Day. You don't see people walking around their Independence Day like with their heads down. It's an incredible, if you've never seen this before, put it on your bucket list. Put it on your bucket list to go to Israel. Hopefully we'll go back to normal soon. We get to like fly again. Put it on your bucket list to be in Israel for the Yom HaZikaron, Remembrance Day, Yom HaAtzmaut, Independence Day transition. It's fascinating. You literally have pain and suffering like you've never seen from a national level to unbridled joy within hours. It took me a long time to understand it, and this is topics I got it also from my grandfather. He should rest in peace. Taught me this lesson as well about what it means to cry with your eyes out and laugh your heart out in one moment, watching him for all the years that I did. But it means something. What it means is sacrifice is a part of the process. And it hurts, but it's part of it. You don't shirk from it. You engage in it. Who wants to go to war? Who wants to go to battle? Who wants to send a kid to defend somebody? Why would anybody want to do that? But they don't shirk from it. They grow with it. They become better from it. I always joke around this yesterday on a conference call that like there's a famous story of the United States of America sending over these F-15s, these bombers that they spend billions of dollars making, only to see at the airstrip a bunch of Israeli Air Force technicians showing up with like screwdrivers. And they're like, what are you doing? They're like, no, we're going to take it apart. They're like, you're going to take it apart? It's because they've engaged in the sacrifice for so long that they have their way. They want to make it better. They want to grow every day. And America's great. And America's a wonderful friend, and also what they've accomplished over hundreds of years. But this idea that we need to start to embrace the sacrifice. We need to toughen up a drop, all of us. And hopefully God never throws us anything too hard. And we take it on ourselves, and we take it on in the right measure. But when you don't know who you are, like this small little country called Israel that started in 1948 with that same perspective, I don't know who I am. I don't know who we are. But we're going to figure out anew every year. We're going to grow every year a little bit more. You start to embrace that which is in front of you. You go from not having an airplane in 1948 to having one of the greatest air forces in the world 70 years later. But that's not just national. We can talk about this all day. But it's personal. It's engaging in sacrifice. It's being willing to see the circumstances in front of us and saying, I don't know who I am, but I'm willing to find out. I'm willing to do something new. I'm willing to try something I've never tried before. I'm willing to go past that comfort zone of mine that's kept me limited, that's kept me a fraction of who I am. So I want to continue the exercise we started yesterday for this week. I hope everybody does this. And yesterday I got some great feedback from different people, from Michael, from Amy, from Ariella. Thank you so much. And from other people, I'm having a chance to jot everybody down. Texts from people that have done hard things, reached out to people, tried new things, working on problems. I did it myself. I promised you I would do some homework. I did it. There's an individual that I had to contact that I was avoiding for many months to do so, and I just bit the bullet yesterday and called him up. And I think this is the exercise of our day. And I think we need to do it every day together for the next few days, each and every one of us. Push yourself to make the connection between your head and your heart tighter. If you hear something, do it. Not because you need to be that person every day, but because you need to get from thought to feeling, from thought to feeling, from thought to awareness, quicker, so that it becomes an automatic thing. You hear something, you do something. Today in your day, do something a little hard. Don't do something very hard. Don't sit under a bench and lift 500 more pounds than you can. But me and you both know there's something right out our comfort zone, right outside our comfort zone. It's not going to kill us. It's a little uncomfortable. Call the thought, the thing, whatever. We all know. We don't have to spell it out. Take a minute as I'm talking now and think, what's the thing that or just during your day, what's a little bit outside my comfort zone? Sometimes it's saying something to people that are in your house right now. Just do it. Feel the sacrifice. Feel the deliberate sacrifice, I should say. We're all sacrificing. We're all living in a world of sacrifice. I don't want to downplay all what we're going through right now. Some people are sacrificing the time, and they're forget it coming at you. Go at it now. Go at it. Find something. Push something. If for nothing else, just because we took a page out of Israel's playbook, to sacrifice what you believe in. There's nothing more you need to believe in at this point than ourselves. Because if we don't believe in ourselves, how do we believe in everything else? And the truth is, if God's a piece of us, part of the belief in God, and this is complicated, I just want to throw out the little nugget. Searching for God is really searching for self. And until then, remember, life isn't meant to be good or great, it's meant to be awesome. And this is how it is. You choose awesome. You don't get awesome. It's not a package. It's an accomplishment. Make it a great day. Make it an awesome day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a part of this. I can't wait, with God's help, talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day.